Hello, I'm Rachel from thehealthywomb.com. This is WombTube, and today I'm with Melanie Swan from thesacredwomb.com. I promise you the two businesses aren't related.
They are.
Well, they are, but not commercially. Melanie is with me today. We're going to talk about her latest offering, the Crucible, and how it helps people through sexual trauma. So, just by way of introduction, Melanie is a drama therapist turned medicine woman, shaman, healer, and works with women on the energetic side of a lot of things that affect us, especially in our womb center. And she's currently working specifically with women who have experienced sexual trauma to help them through and bring them back into themselves. So, Melanie, if you want to sort of just give us an idea of what you mean by sexual trauma.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad you asked, actually, because a lot of women are confused about this, and really there's no set definition. Sure, there's childhood abuse, rape, and assault, but it's really anywhere where you feel violated. There are emotional, physical, and sort of spiritual, soul level aspects of abuse, and it could be purely energetic, but that produces a very physical feeling. It can do, and it's really important to move away from what was the physical act that happened, what happened, and to move towards, okay, how did you feel, and what happens inside, and what are the effects now. So yeah, that's what I mean by sexual trauma.
And I think it's really important that people realise that what can be a trauma for one person isn't always a trauma for another, so it's really how you feel inside.
Yeah.
Okay, so what drew you to doing this kind of work?
Awesome women. Of course, I've had my own healing journey, and I experienced some sexual abuse in childhood, and I've had lots and lots of therapy and done lots of sweat lodges and come through that. So knowing that we can heal, but we can actually go past that, and find our gifts and our wisdom at the other side, and bring those back into this reality and ground them and actually share them with the world. So I've been working as a therapist for a while, and I actually set off on my travels. I was a little bit bored in England, set off on my travels, and I met loads and loads of awesome women along the way. And there was a really common theme of sort of shutdown of gifts of wisdom in women. And they were really gifted women, intuitive, but really not trusting their intuition, and not able to kind of feel these things that they could do, but not bring them into the world. And so many women have felt violated and been abused and been raped and been assaulted. And it's really, really like the suffering has to come to an end, because we're out of balance in our world. And yeah, it's time that we kind of did something more about it, really, and we're able to help women and support women to come back to power. And where our seat of wisdom is our womb center. And of course, one way to shut that down is to attack it and objectify it. So yeah, we need to come out of all those layers, really, so that we can bring our gifts to the world. It actually balances our health, our communities, our relationships. So it brings our world back to balance. So that's what brought me to the work, and that's why I do it as well.
Yeah, and just going back a step, actually, I remember that hearing the statistic that 1 in 3 women have been sexually violated in some way. So that's a third of our women who aren't expressing their gifts to the world because they're still stuck, and can really do with help unlocking that.
Yeah,
that's quite common. Thank you for explaining that. Could you tell us the sort of signs that someone could watch out for in themselves to see if they are one of the women that are affected? Because I know a lot of women sometimes think, no, it's just how I perceived it, or it hasn't really affected me.
Yeah, I've got a little list here, and actually that's one of the signs and symptoms of trauma. Maybe it didn't happen, maybe it wasn't so bad. Was it my fault? What did I do? Maybe I shouldn't have done this. So the disbelief is an aspect there. And so is dissociation. That's quite a strong one as well. That what we do when we're experiencing something intense that's not okay, that we take ourselves out of our body. And that's totally appropriate for the time, or else we wouldn't be able to cope. So we go out of the body. And then, of course, you don't really want to be out of your body in daily life, and maybe you want some relationships and want to bring your gifts to the fore. But the psyche isn't selective, so these parts of ourselves go off and they're kept safe, and it's quite difficult to get them to come back in. And it can feel, dissociation is quite a spacey feeling, or an overly tired feeling, or something. It's just something's not quite right, and things go a little bit fuzzy. So that'll be at work. And the other
would that
thing,
also be the not feeling fully present in what you're doing?
Yeah. The greyness, the fuzziness. You might feel a little bit kind of dizzy, hot. I mean, it can manifest in several different ways, but someone who's watching this, they'll know what I mean when I say dissociation. They've kind of gone out of their body a bit. The other aspect is hypervigilance. So because something horrible has happened, the psyche sort of pulls away and then sort of looks at the world as if like it's going to happen again. So watches for signs, like say a man coming towards you on the pavement, just walking normally. That might be very distressing, trigger very strong feelings of anxiety, because that part of the psyche thinks, man walking towards me, this is a little bit what happened before. Oh my God. And then the anxiety comes and panic attacks can happen. The breath gets tight, and it's very difficult to cope with, because logically everything's okay, but really it's not okay.
And that's really the brain or the psyche trying to protect you, isn't it, from experiencing it again?
Yeah. So there is a long list. I mean, I'm not going to list them all, because it's pretty distressing as well. And these signs and symptoms you can experience anything from a little bit to really a lot. So we've got dissociation, hypervigilance, PTSD as part of a trauma reaction, a trauma coping mechanism. And the other one is shame. I mean, that's a big one, really. That's very silencing and very shaming. I mean, what I hear women say a lot is, well, it wasn't that bad, or people have experienced much worse than me. And it's a real kind of internal self-blaming and shaming, and it keeps us silent, and it keeps us kind of covered and our essence pulled in. So really we need to dissolve that shame and love ourselves back through it, and then we can come back, which is brilliant.
So leading on from that then, what are the key stages in recovering from a trauma?
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up as well, because people often expect to address things and then they're done, a bit like a tick list. I remember starting off in therapy like that as well. I came with a list and almost a clipboard type style thing. My poor therapist was like, oh. Okay. But so what I've discovered through my own healing and through working with other people is that we heal in spirals and cycles. So as women, we're cyclical beings anyway, but we go in spirals. So at the first, can you see this? So the first spiral will be like, say it's a cycle, and so I'm trying to explain this on Skype. So if you can think of a circle, and in the circle is this tunnel.
Okay.
So we'll go through this tunnel. That's, say, like some deep emotions. And then we'll kind of come out the other side and go, oh, I'll get some relief. And then we go round the cycle, we do a bit of integration, and then we start enjoying life. Life feels a bit lighter. We can enjoy the fruits of our work. And then we go into what I call like a golden period of, yay, I've done my work. I mean, this is great. We get an increased run of prana through our bodies as we increase our breath, which actually dislodges deeper stuff. So what we're doing is we're going round that circle and we've come back to the tunnel, but the tunnel is a different tunnel. We get to a deeper layer and a different level of our being. So sometimes people get very disheartened to say, I'm back to square one, I'm having this shitty thing in my relationship again, I thought I'd done with this, therapy didn't work. But it totally did. If you keep hitting these things in a cycle, these emotions, it's great because it's actually movement, and that's what we want, movement of energy to dislodge this old stuff.
And it's like anything that you try that's new in terms of meditation or anything else, you have to keep revisiting it again and again and working at a different level in order for you to be able to get through it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that makes sense completely. Thank you for explaining that, because I didn't actually think of it like that. But that's a nice analogy, and also I suppose it's almost a bit like a spiral going down, corkscrew, going into your deeper self.
It is. And the paradox is that the deeper we spiral down into ourselves, into our womb centre, the higher we grow up. It's like a tree putting its taproot down, the deeper, deeper, deeper.
Oh, that's a lovely analogy. I really like that.
We don't actually need to try and advance ourselves spiritually in that kind of try and open our crown, try and open our third eye. We just go deeper, and that momentum, it's great.
That sounds brilliant. Okay. So let's move on to you personally and your program that you've put together. It's called the Crucible.
It is.
Do you want to explain what you do in that program?
Yeah, sure. The Crucible is it's a 3-month program, so we do 12 one-to-one sessions via Skype. There'll be an email check-in in between sessions. This is very, very important because what we're doing is healing the attachment with the self, and part of that is done through the relationship. It also helps with processing deep stuff. Sometimes there's panic afterwards, sometimes there's big stuff that comes up, and sometimes there isn't as well, but that email check-in is there as an anchor. So that's very important. Also, we'll do daily practices, which again, the consistency of care, this consistency of self-care is very important. It's much better to do 5 minutes a day, every day, than 20 minutes kind of here and there, because what we're doing is we're regulating the psyche back to safety, just like you do with a baby, really. You know, you feed a baby every 2 hours or 3 hours, and you get predictable, and they know when certain music goes on, they go to bed and stuff. So you're really nurturing yourself.
You're retraining your mind.
Yeah. So we also work with creative exercises as well, because some of this stuff is non-verbal. Sometimes the incident or the period of abuse is before words, and sometimes some of this stuff there just aren't words for. It's indescribable and incomparable. So we use creative techniques as well to get your creative energy moving, because creative energy is the same as sexual energy. So this is the energy of creation. What we're trying to do is get that moving. It helps bring the gifts back, but it also will trigger an innate memory that we are co-creators. We're here to create. So it helps on lots of levels, really.
Yeah, and your womb is your creative centre too. And one big thing I found with a lot of my clients who come to me with endometriosis or fibroids, it's their creativity that's recently been stifled.
Yeah.
So that makes complete sense to me.
Yeah.
And what's the kind of endpoint that women are looking to get out of this program?
Okay, well, I like to really focus on, does it make a difference in daily life? Very important. I've got my little list back actually, because I want to talk about a few things. So yes, we'll be working with emotional, physical, and kind of soul level areas of trauma. We'll also be working through the rage and disbelief and different layers of emotional charge. But then what we're getting to is coming back to the body and anchoring in our seat of independence, so that we're able to sit in our womb centre, feel that wisdom coming through. The womb is an expression of the void in this reality. So we can not only birth children, but we can birth new consciousness. So the end point, I guess, which is never ending anyway, is that we sit in our bodies, we sit in our power, and we co-create. One of the major things, actually, the healing process is to reconnect with our true masculine nature. Unfortunately, a lot of abuse is kind of physically conducted by men, and it's polarizes us further from our own masculine nature. Makes us struggle with things like money and self-support and structure in the world. So what we can do is restore our relationship with our masculine nature, and it's actually an energy that comes back into us. So it can actually physically, it's a very physical feeling actually. Yeah. It comes back in, it lights up the chakras, it goes right up the core, and it restores our feminine nature. So there's a lot of talk and a lot of work about the divine feminine rising, which is awesome. I mean, we're all taking much better care of ourselves and doing a great job of that. But to actually become whole again and come back to our center, we need our masculine nature, and then the feminine melts around it. It's really just like you're back, and all sorts of things happen then. So yeah, that's what we're aiming for. But I mean, it can be 3 to 6 months really. Sometimes we need to take off the gas a little bit. And it depends as well. There's kind of a couple of different payment plans so that people can afford it in different ways. But yeah, that's our endpoint, Juicy Womb Centre.
Yes, and I think that's a really important point as well, that we all need sort of a balance of energy and to feel whole again. And you automatically think, well, I need to protect my feminine and bring that out. But the masculine is an important part of us. So it's good to hear that there is some sort of logic, in my mind anyway, towards it. So thank you for sharing. You've also been very kind and shared a meditation, which I've got the link somewhere below. So if you want an idea of how Melanie works, that is one way. So do listen to that. And the other thing is you're offering discovery calls.
Yeah, 30-minute consultations, so that really if you're watching and you're interested in joining the program, then it's an opportunity to see if I'm the right person for you to work with. That's really, really important. And to ask kind of more questions and just have a feel for how we're going to work together. How do we relate to one another? And I can explain a little bit more detail. Like there's a Facebook group where you can connect with other women. It's also not a set program. We'll have an eye on these different aspects, and they're covered, not covered one at a time. They're all intertwined. So it is a bespoke program, and yeah, we'll just see what happens when we talk and see if it's the right thing.
Brilliant. Melanie, thank you so much for your time. I'm also just going to add, most people obviously say please share this video. If you share this video, please don't tag anyone's name in it if you think it would help them, because obviously they might be a bit embarrassed on social media, but please do share it widely, and it might reach a few people that really need the help that Melanie's offering. So Melanie, thank you so much for your time.
Pleasure.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.